right, so what I'm going to show you now, what I want to talk about is kind of this stage of the painting. So for the most part, and let me go ahead and fix the camera here. Let's kind of back this up a little bit. Here we go. I'm going to raise this up a little bit. All right, so I want to get this thing focused here. Here we go. All right, so what I'm going to talk about now is, in this part of the painting, is so I've laid everything in acrylic paint up to this point. And now I've kind of gotten to about as far as I want to get with acrylic. What I want to do, though, is talk about the next level of this painting, and that is going into my oil palette. So I've created an oil palette, and right now I'm working on the shadowed side of our mountain here, and I've got more shadow here. What's going to happen is right through here we're going to have a burst of sunlight, because that's why this section is going to be a lot brighter. And then the tops of these trees will all be kind of getting hit by some sun. So behind the structure, and then on this side of the hill, it's going to be kind of maybe a little more in shadow. And that could be, you know, we have maybe a big cloud floating in the sky or something, and it's kind of covering that section of the sunlight. So what I want to do is I've already started here, and I've started adding, I'll just show you my palette. This is my palette, very simple palette. I've got titanium white, sap green, this is phthalo green, and I've got some Winsor lemon. And I've mixed up just these three colors here to kind of have this bluish green color. And this is my shadow color right here. And what I'm doing is, now that I've mixed this pile, is I'm taking this flat brush. This is a number 4 flat bristle brush, and it's synthetic. So it's got some nice hairs, but I'm thinning. What I'm doing is I'm stroking both sides to get it thin and get it straight, and just sort of getting it to lay down. And then what I'm doing is I'm coming in here and I'm pushing upward, and I'm creating a ridge of paint on the end of my brush, just on that one corner. And then I'm coming back and I'm using just that one corner, and I'm just applying my little leaves, and I'm creating clumps. And since I'm painting on top of acrylic, and I got to keep going back and reflattening and then reapplying that ridge of paint, but when I come back, it kind of creates a little tiny triangle. And let me get this a little closer now. Get this a little closer. Let me go ahead and refocus this camera a little bit. So I apologize for jostling around a little bit here. Let's see if that's, here we go. All right, and so I'm bumping the camera, I apologize. I'm gonna come sit back down. But as I come through here, once again, I'm just adding these tiny little triangles, and I'll just kind of use that paint until it kind of starts to deplete. Go back and reapply, push that ridge of paint. But since I've already done this underpainting and brought everything in, sorry, I've got this on close quarters. But this just applies right on top of that really nicely. And since it's oil paint going on top of acrylic paint, it's coming off very, very thick. See, I'm applying it thick, and it's almost kind of standing out a little bit more, so that when it dries and you rub your finger across, it's going to be a little bit, you're going to feel those ridges. just using that corner of that brush. And, you know, I want to keep this a little more on the cool side, which is why I'm using that phthalo green. It's got a lot of blue in it. Phthalo green's got a lot of blue already naturally inside that type of paint. Now I could have mixed some ultramarine or something to that, but I want to keep it shadowed and cool because, of course, we are on the cool side of this painting. This is all in shadow, and so that will naturally imply it's just going to be a little bit more on those kind of blue-green tones. But since that stands erect, it really comes out pretty prominent, and it makes some really nice effects. And this does take time. It will take a lot of time because you're just adding these individual little leaves, and you want to think about form and shape. You want to think about how these trees that grow on these hills, they grow in large clumps. So you want to kind of jump around. Obviously, I'm letting a lot of my negative space come through. Think about your negative space. You don't want to kill all that negative space. You've worked so hard just to get that underpainting put in, and you don't want to lose that. But I wanted to take a moment and kind of explain what I'm doing here. This is one of my favorite techniques for trees. Sorry, I've got my family bumping around making noise as I'm recording this. So, but it's a very effective way to make trees, and one of my favorite ways. I think it really adds a lot of realism to the painting. Now I've mixed Winsor lemon, sap green, and phthalo green, and I've mixed kind of a lime color here because we're going to have just a little bit of sunlight, just barely kind of touching the tops of some of these trees. My grandson is here visiting right now, and you can hear him listening to backyardigans in the background. So, but apologize, you're going to hear that noise. Okay, so we're going to have just a little bit of sunlight peeking over this. So I'm going to come back with this bit of a lighter lime color. So flattening out my brush, loading a ridge of paint. So it's just a subtle change here, just a very subtle change. And I'm just going on the tops of these trees, the top of the uppermost canopy. Because it's mostly just going to stay in shadow. And like right here, we're going to have kind of a decent little bit of light kind of casting through. So be patient with yourself. This takes a minute. Definitely takes just a little bit of time. But very effective. And that's really kind of all I wanted to add on there. So I hope that was helpful. Let me move my camera back here a little bit more. I'm not the most wonderful cameraman. Get this back into focus. But yeah, so very effective way of getting some good trees. You've really conquered, most of the battle just because of the underpainting, what you saw me do earlier. And then going on top of that and layering your oil paint much thicker, that really helps it to stand out prominently, and you can really start to see that foliage. So I just want to give that quick tutorial to you, and we can move on, kind of applying that same theory to the rest of our leaves all through here. So thanks so much.